But let's dive right into it, and let's start off with the bottom dwellers of this division last year, and really the bottom dwellers of the NFL last year, and that is the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are coming off a really rough year, and it was a rough year for their rookie quarterback Bryce Young too. Not a whole lot of weapons around him, unfortunately, and it just did not work out the way that they were hoping. But they got a new coach at the helm with Dave Canales. I think that he's going to be a good addition. I like what he was able to do with Geno Smith over in Seattle, and then obviously last year with the Buccaneers as the offensive coordinator with Baker Mayfield, and how good of a season Baker Mayfield has. So I honestly think that it's the best. It's the best hire that they could have gotten to kind of help their young quarterback out. But fellas, I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about the Carolina Panthers, and where you guys kind of rank them in this division coming into the 2024-2025 season.
Right where they left it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much hope for them. They did add some pieces though. Like, they're trying. The one thing that they did, I think they did very well, was to shore up the middle of the offensive line. They go out and they spend some money. They spent $153 million on that middle, with Robert Hunt getting 100 of it from the Dolphins. And he's a road grader. He's a good pickup for them. And then they get Damian Lewis from Seattle for $53 million. So they did shore that up a little bit for them. It should be a little bit easier to run the ball for them up the middle. It's just they still got a lot of pieces, man. They've got some rebuilding to do, and they don't really have a lot of cap even next year. I mean, to keep building like they need to do it. But I mean, we'll see. What worries me is when a QB coach becomes a head coach. Canales did well with Geno and then Baker, but he's now the head coach, so he has to delegate everything. So they're going to rely on the new quarterback coach can he be as successful with Bryce as, because Canales got to worry about the whole team now. He just can't focus in on just the offensive side of the ball. So we're going to see. I know he'll work with him. He won't be, but he's still the head coach now. So, and I'm not sold on Bryce Young either. I think he's small. I just wasn't a big fan of him coming out of college, and don't know. We'll see, man. They added a ton of pieces on defense too. They get Clowney. I don't know how much that's going to help them. They do get A'Shawn Robinson to Parasite.
He had 10 sacks last year, though.
He did. I mean, it'll help. It's better than what they had last year. I like the signing of A'Shawn Robinson to pair up next to Derek Brown, which I think Derek Brown's a beast. I'm a big fan of his. I'm curious to see how Kaylon Kaysen, I think that's how you say his name. He was the first round pick of the Jags coming out of LSU. So they signed him on a cheap deal this year. I'm just curious to see, is this guy going to pull it together, ball out? I think this is his last shot for to get a contract other than just, these $2-3 million deals. So they still got work to do. I give them, I'm going to put them at 5-12 this year. But I think they're going to be back at the bottom, and they're going to just keep rebuilding. New head coach, man, it's rough, man. Still got a growing quarterback and not a whole lot. They did add Deontay Johnson, though. I mean, so there is some help at wide receiver. Alan Thielen was a fantasy football beast last year for a little while. So we'll see how they do. I mean, they got Mingo, Terrence Marshall. You know who I like, though, on their side? Is the guy they drafted, Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. I just want to see this guy do interviews because I can't make out that country twang that he has is legit. I can't understand what this guy's saying.
Dude, it sounds like he's coming from Louisiana. He almost has that Asian, kind of accent going.
You remember the guy from Bobby Boucher, that movie, and he's hold on, he ain't gonna go. He reminds me of that guy, and I just love it. I hope the guy does well. Yeah. But yeah, I think they're gonna be at the bottom this year.
Yeah, I have them. I don't have them getting into third place. I still have them in fourth place at the bottom this year. But I do like what they did. I think that they're definitely building, and I think that if Dave Canales can get some years, I mean, this owner has not been one to be patient with head coaches. So I'm hoping that Dave kind of gets a fair shot to really kind of help kind of get into this role as the head coach, like you were saying, Carlos, and really kind of be that consistency that Bryce Young and a young quarterback needs in the NFL. Every young quarterback needs consistency, and so, but again, this owner, man, he's just not patient. Like he fires everyone. He throws beers on people. Like he's an absolute menace to society. But I do like what they did. On top of drafting Xavier, they also got Jonathan Brooks. I think he's going to be really good, especially with them getting those two guards this offseason. I think that that's going to be, something that Bryce Young can rely on a little bit more because their
Do you
running game
think?
just wasn't there.
Do you think he beats out Chuba Hubbard for the starting role?
I do. After last year with what Hubbard was able to do or not do, I think that he does end up getting more reps than Hubbard. I don't think that he'll start at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
but I think that they drafted him for a reason. So I think the writing's kind of on the wall. But then honestly, let's look at this defensive side. You said that they added Clowney, they got Derek Brown, who is an absolute beast. But then if you look at their secondary is not that bad at all. Like they got
No.
Xavier Words, they have Jordan Fuller, they got J.C.
J.C.
Horn.
Horn.
So these guys, they're pretty good, and they kept their defensive coordinator Evers. They were able to keep him after last year, and last year they ranked fourth fewest allowed with yards per game allowed in the NFL, and it was the third lowest that franchise has ever seen. So he's doing good, and they were able to keep him. So I think that that's going to do good for that defensive unit. So losing Brian Burns sucks. I understand why they traded him because they were just not going to be able to pay him what he deserved, honestly. But I mean, getting Clowney in, getting getting that other nose tackle in from Seattle, although he hasn't been great as far as stats, he does the job of a nose tackle, and he just kind of plugs up that middle. And with Derek Brown next to him, you're gonna have the help that you need. So it should be. I think that they're heading in the right direction, but it's not going to be this year. I have them going right around 6 and 11, 7 and 10. 7 and 10 on a really good year. It's just because their schedule is easy, man. I mean, and I get it. It's early. No one knows what these schedules are really going to do. Injuries are going to play a big factor. There's always that one team that surprises the whole league. But I mean, I do like what they have, and I'm a big fan of Dave Canales. I didn't like him leaving. I wanted him to stay here in Tampa. But hey, he deserves it. I mean, he did well. So I do like they're heading in the right direction.
I don't agree with some of that because Canales also started calling plays for the Bucks, and we were 32nd in the league in rushing. So they're going to go down the tubes.
The ball. So he's a quarterback
ever
guy.
For that matter. So the Panthers last year were 2-15. I don't see them doing much better. They were 32nd in passing, so I guess that's a kudos for Canales to look remotely better. They were 20th in rushing, 4th in total defense yards wise. Sacks, 32nd because they never touched the quarterback. Turnover differential was 25th, and they had 10 interceptions, 9 fumbles, but only 3 were lost. You have a new head coach that's not exactly proven as a, how do I say this, like holistic leader. So like he has never been the guy, right? He's always been a complimentary character to the staff or to mentor quarterbacks, right? So from a Bryce Young future standpoint, I think Canales was a good call. From a head coach standpoint, we'll find out. They still have Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, to see how much he's got left in the tank. Hubbard and Sanders. So they got Sanders in the backfield for Philly, I believe. Yeah, and they need to produce yards. Jonathan Brooks is still showing questionable, and I know he had the injury from Texas, and we also have 2 Texas elite running backs in this division. We also have Bijan Robinson as well for the Falcons, so keep that in mind. Brooks is no slouch. If he is completely healthy, then that rushing defense, or the rushing offense, sorry, is something to look at. And to complement Bryce Young worked with lots and lots of play action in Alabama, and I think that will complement him very well. And then, everyone says he's short like Kyler Murray and everything else, but he has incredible field vision. And he never had the chance to do it except for a few throws down the field. And to be honest, that 2-15 record was a lot of drops. I know we were watching other teams, and I think it was mid-season when they were like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes is throwing dimes and, everyone's dropping the ball. So were the Panthers. But it's Bryce Young and he's a rookie. So they're like, oh, Bryce Young might suck. I don't think he sucks. I think he's still in the prove it category. They have Deontay Johnson, like you said. He's their number 1 wide receiver. I'm not sure if he's like a true number 1. Like if you put him on a different team with an A-list guy, I think he's a good number 1 for them right now. I think he's a good builder for Leggett. Like you were saying, Leggett's, I thought that was kind of a questionable pick. And then you started watching some tape, and he's actually probably, depending on how he performs, he might be their number 1 guy down the line. They still got Sanders from Kentucky. He's a bigger dude. I think he's more on the blocking side, but I'm sure he's got hands. They have the biggest to prove on offense, hands down in this division. Their defense absolutely has to get sacks. Like I said, 32nd in sacks. If you can't touch the quarterback remotely, you're going to lose. And that's what we saw this whole past year. And you said Clowney got picked up, yeah. But when you get pressure and you intimidate the guy throwing the ball or trying to do some play action and get in their face, you're going to create turnovers, which would then push them further off the bottom in the turnover category. They had the 5th easiest schedule, according to the Pro Football Network. Everyone's got them listed differently. I think this was a good hit, give me to the Panthers as well. Dave, I think you said 5-12. I'm saying 4-13. I don't think they do that much better this year. I don't think they win more than 5 games max.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think 5 is the limit for them.
They have the longest yards to go, period. Yeah. Figuratively and literally.
Well, I mean, hey, sometimes we like to be optimistic, but I mean, and listen, I don't care if they go 0-17. Scooter, as a Bucks fan, we don't care, right? Like, we own this division. The Panthers haven't been relevant since Cam Newton, so I mean,
true.
But I don't think that they're gonna. I think that they will stay at the bottom of this division. But I do feel like that they made some good moves this offseason that can help them in the long run. So we'll see.